Sí, sí, a lo mejor el fin de año sería mejor. Ahora, como nos mudamos aquí hace como 3 meses, todavía tenemos muchas cosas para hacer, muchas cosas en la lista.
Now we're gonna do the whole rest of the show you responding like that. Okay?
Just fully Spanish.
Yes.
I can honestly say whatever, and you might not know if I'm actually saying words.
You can say whatever the hell you want and be like, oh yeah, sounds great. Yeah. I never forget like one of the first, not first, but like I remember recording with you and I'm like, what the hell is Jose always looking at? Because it's not like you're just like looking over at something. You have these shifty eyes, like
Because I'm trying not to move my head in there. I'm trying to like make sure I keep it straight, so like I move my eyes.
it's like you're trying
It's
not
like
to
I'm
be
up to
caught looking
something.
at something. It's like you're at a restaurant and you're with your wife and a woman with a very bosomy things walking by and you're trying to not look at her cleavage and you're just like, no, no, don't turn your head. If I don't turn my head, she won't notice. From movies to video games, welcome to Marie Plays It All. Today's episode is a side quest with Jose Ramos, and we are talking about Alien Earth, the new series that is coming out on August 12th on Hulu, or if you're Canadian like me, on Disney Plus. So I'm very curious to talk to you about it, especially since we have some differing opinions on how we feel about certain Alien installments in the franchise. So I want to hear what you're excited about for the show, if you're excited about the show, or if there's things that you're afraid that's going to happen in the show or you don't want to see. So I'm just excited to talk to you about it. But anyway, Jose, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm so excited over this. I remember when they first announced it, I was a little, I don't know, unsure about it coming, but now it's getting closer, and I feel like my excitement level is a lot higher.
I think there's always a fear and a little bit of apprehension and some worry that is in your in your heart and in your mind when there's property that you love or that is dear to you or that you grew up with and there's going to be like any form of a new installment coming out. And then especially if like not especially but it's Disney too. So there's always things where it's like, oh God, like don't destroy my baby. You know what I mean? Or that your initial thought was, oh no, because it was mine. I was like, oh no.
That was my initial thoughts when they first bought Fox Century, when they first got the rights
Mhm.
for Predator and Aliens. I was like, no, why are they're gonna Disneyfy it? Why are they doing that in there? It's not my thought so much anymore, just because they have put out some stuff that was outside of, let's call it, Disney's comfort zone, that has
Mhm.
done well. So we had like Prey in there. We more sticking with Predator. More recently, we also had the Killers, the other Predator, the animated movie. You know, they had Deadpool and Wolverine, which was rated R and stuff. So they, they've kind of pulled out of their comfort zone a little bit with certain projects. So it's not as much of a fear as it was before. Although it's still in the back of my mind. I'm like, don't mess this up. Like, there's a reason you bought like Hulu and you got all that. Just don't put it on Disney Plus. I know you don't have a choice, but
Yeah.
here in US, where you're mostly gonna get, it's probably where you're gonna get most of the complainers, and you're gonna get all the parents calling in like, no, you can't have this in these TV shows and all of this stuff. There's too much violence. There's too much that. It's like, okay, don't put it on Disney Plus. Use Hulu. Use your other platform and put the more mature stuff.
But to learn that the showrunner is Noah Hawley and he did Fargo and Legion, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool. Like, I didn't watch all of Fargo and I only watched a few episodes of Legion, but I don't know why I got out of it. But I know they're shows that are both more like gritty and adult and kind of and have a darkness to it and are like widely praised. So that gave me some hope. I'm like, okay, so it's not gonna be kid-like Disney. I not that I really was expecting, but there's always that little bit of fear when as soon as you see the name Disney. I think there's something that snaps in your brain, and you're like, "Uh-oh." Is it going to be adult enough for us? Going to be dark enough? Is it going to be horror enough, action enough, thriller enough, sci-fi enough? But then seeing him as the showrunner, how did you feel?
Yeah. Well, I felt good about that, but touching a little bit on what you mentioned, that is when the rumors first came out regarding the show, they weren't releasing plot details, but it was rumors going around. As soon as they mentioned like alien on Earth, teenage group, I remember hearing that at the beginning. I'm like, oh no, they're gonna CW this, aren't they? We're gonna have yeah,
That's your greatest fear is the CW feel.
yeah. I mean, I'm CW was a guilty pleasure for me. Like growing up, I knew it was bad, but it entertained me. But I don't want to see that in my horror, in my alien. Like I'll take that for superhero and comic book stuff because there is a level of cheesiness that goes with that anyway. So I'm more
Mhm.
forgiving when it comes to that. But when I see that, I was just like, oh no, not teenagers. Like, is the alien gonna be about to take them out? But then here's them talking about their feelings and who's gonna get with who and the stuff. And the alien's like, you know what? I don't want anything to do with this, and he just kind of leaves. In there, it's like I was like, I hope they don't do that. But like I said, over time, they've slowly kind of brought me around. Once I saw that he was attached, Noah Hawley, right? That's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Once I thought he was found out, and I'm a big fan of the Fargo show. I feel that's one of those shows that every season hit. That even the seasons that are considered weaker were still good. It was just going up against his own standards, and I can't wait for a new season to come out from that. So that already showed he can take a product that's already out there and has been put out there and kind of expand it and make it his own while still keeping a lot of the charm of the original product. And then with Legion, I mean, he made a entire show that was like really good in the world of X-Men without even having the X-Men. And people didn't care because the show was good. I mean, I'm sure some people did, but overall, the show found success and found an audience because it was good. So he has a track record of taking existing IPs or existing worlds and being able to put it in the TV show format in a way that keeps people engaged.
Mhm. That is creme de la creme is when you can take something that's already a product and keep the same feel of it and the tone and the vibe and be true to it, but then also giving you something else and something different and fresh. Like that's a really hard thing to do. Okay, so the setting of the show is set in 2120, just 2 years before the events of the original Alien film, like the 1979 original film, making it the very first installment of the franchise set on Earth. Okay. It explores a dystopian world run by five mega corporations, including Wayland Yutani, where cyborgs and synthetics coexist with humans in a corporately stratified society. The central character, Wendy, played by Sydney Chandler, is the first humanoid robot with human consciousness. Her brain was transferred into a synthetic body after terminal illness as a child. Okay, I like that. I like the setting. How do you feel about it taking place before, like a prequel?
I mean, I think that's good. It adds an element when you look at the series as a whole, because now you have to think if this is occurring before the original one, because there's always the people wondering like how much did Wayland know about where they were sending them and what they were having them do. Like they already know a lot of this, so if this is already occurring on Earth beforehand, that kind of closes the book on that. They definitely knew that was going in there. So it
Mhm.
adds that. It answers a question without really trying to answer a question. So I think that's good regarding that. I know the director. I'm not the director. Sorry, the showrunner came out and said, and basically that they're not aiming to connect this really to the other movies. Like it exists in that world, but his whole purpose is not to at this point doing any connections and things like that. So we probably won't have callbacks or anything like that. He's not going to touch on the prequel elements, so those plot details are not going to be touched on. At least at this point, they will not be. Maybe if it goes on in future seasons, then they might connect it, kind of going into the first movie. But right now, he's not going to do that. The plans for it to kind of stand on its own. So I think with it taking place beforehand, it makes it easier because that's untouched territory. So you can kind of do that and you don't have to worry about people being like, wait, that doesn't make sense because of this or that, because you're covering a time period that hasn't been touched. Is when you start intermingling in the time frame with other things are happening that you have to be very careful not to create plot holes or any errors in the continuity. So I think that's going to be helpful for the time frame.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree with everything you just said, and I love it. So how do you feel that it's not going to be, like, it's going to diverge from the Prometheus era and treating xenomorphs as like naturally evolved creatures?
Honestly, I don't think they're going to touch it at all.
Like they're not going to do anything with the Prometheus. No, they're
No, I
not.
think they're just going to ignore it. They're going to
They
ignore it
are.
completely.
But
Yeah,
but how do you feel about that?
I'm fine with it. I'm not
Okay.
I'm not the biggest fans of the Prometheus movies and the Alien Covenant and all of that stuff. As I've rewatched the original Prometheus in there, as a movie, as an isolated movie, I gained a little more respect for it as its own movie. I still don't like it in the world of Alien because it wasn't an Alien movie for me. But on
Yeah.
its own, it's a pretty good movie in general. So if they include elements like Romulus did, it depends how they're gonna do it. I wouldn't mind it if they did it, and if they don't do it, I also don't mind it. I'm not attached to those details. I just don't want it to go too far into that territory if they do it.
The reason why I asked is because we have very different opinions on Alien Romulus because of the Prometheus aspect they threw in. And to me, that ruined it for me. But you like it, and you still like that aspect. So I was like, how's Jose gonna feel about the not having any Prometheus ties? And because I feel great about it.
But the thing with Romulus with me is it's not like I was like, oh my god, I love that they included like these elements in
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't include them, I would have been fine with it. And who knows, I might have enjoyed it more if they didn't include it, even more than I did. My thought process was, for the most part, the elements they included, it fits with what we have been told about the world. It made sense. That was my thing. It's not that I love that they included Prometheus stuff. It was like the Prometheus stuff is in there. Like that's it. It's in there. There's no way around it. But what they did include, does that make sense within the world of the entire franchise together? And it made sense with the story elements that we have been told in the past. So I didn't
Mm.
mind it because within that context, it made sense. He didn't just throw things in there to throw it in, and then you're like, but wait a second, in Prometheus this, in Alien Covenant this, that doesn't make sense with that. It all made sense within that world. That's why I didn't mind
Yeah, I still hated it, but it's okay because I love
it.
Alien Resurrection and you don't. So you know what? We can't let's cancel each other out.
I'm like, now, once I got towards the end and we got the Rocky Road moment, I was just like, no, this isn't doing it for me.
I get it. I totally get it. It's not for everybody. Okay, so there's been two trailers released, right? There was one like a couple weeks ago that got released and one a couple months ago that got released. So after watching the trailers, how do you feel about it now? Did it make you more excited for it, or what did the trailers make you feel? Trailers can be very deceiving too, so it's like, but they also can get you super hyped. But how did you feel? How do you feel about the trailers that came out?
I enjoyed it. I only watched the final trailer because we were doing this episode. I'm generally once if I'm sold on something 100%, I won't even watch the first trailer.
Mhm.
If if I'm like interested, I'll watch the first trailer to see if it brings me over that hump to okay, I'm sold. And if I'm watching multiple trailers, is because this movie hasn't sold me yet, or this show hasn't
Ah.
sold me yet. So I
Hmm.
watched the first trailer. That kind of eased a lot of my nerves with it. I'm like, I kind of like what I'm seeing here. I like the atmosphere. I like all that. So I was already sold on that. So I was like, I don't need to watch another trailer. So when I saw the icon pop up of new trailer like came out, I was like, all right, cool, and I moved on. But I'm like, we're gonna
Yeah.
do another episode. Might as well watch the other trailer. So I watched it for that. I'm excited. Like I said, I like the at least in the trailer and the short format of that the atmosphere that's coming through the screen there,
Hmm.
and it looks like it's staying true to the elements that I want from an alien, project. And then when you hear them say that this is going to have more xenomorph than any other alien movie or project that was put out there. I'm like, that makes me happy because the biggest issues with those prequels and everything is you barely featured your main attraction. And then when people complained about it, you gave us Alien Covenant and in there and tried to like force it in and it just wasn't working.
Yeah. I'm excited to see more xenomorphs on screen than ever. I guess my fear is like I'm old school and I want to see a lot of practical effects going on, especially when it comes to the I know we're not going to with like the ships and whatever, all like the settings and everything, but with when it comes to the xenomorphs, like as much in the face huggers and the chest bursters, as much practical effects as you can, please, because if there's an overabundance of xenomorphs, but they're all like so clearly CG, it's like the threat goes down for me because it's like, oh, it's they're just CG xenomorphs, and it's like it kind of like I know they're not real, like even though they're not real, like they're really not real if they're like CG. So then I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to see, I just want them to feel tangible and real, and so you feel the threat more. So I'm
That,
nervous about that.
that's what we got in Covenant. It was just a full on
Yeah.
CGI, like cartoonish. They weren't really xenomorphs. There was like they were another iteration
Yes.
of it, but they were trying to give us xenomorphs because
Yeah.
people were mad about it. But then with Romulus, we got more into giving you that practical aspect of it. Even especially with the face huggers and things like that. So they did a really good job with Romulus in that. So I do prefer the practical. I'm not sure how much we're gonna get with this. I believe it's a high budget project, so I'm wondering when you see high budget projects. I think this is like 250 mil total. So we're looking at 8 episodes. So we're looking at maybe over 40 million per episode on
Hmm.
average here. So how much of that is going into CGI in there? So that kind of does worry about it. But you're speaking about Xenomorph. I have something to bring to you. See what your
Mm.
thoughts are.
Hmm.
So I remember seeing with the showrunner, he was talking about um, with this, he wanted to introduce new creatures to the audience in there. His thought process was the xenomorph and its evolution. It's too well known, so it lost the mystery that you had when you were watching the original. To me, that translates as okay, everyone knows the xenomorph. It's gotten old. I got to give you something fresh on top of like the xenomorphs. So that this is planned to introduce, I don't know how many new creatures, but new creatures that have new abilities, new ways of attacking, all of that aspect of it. What do you think of that? First of all, his view on the xenomorph, but then also we're going to be getting other types of aliens in this that will be a threat, not just the xenomorph.
Right. Okay. Because in the story is that a ship crash lands on Earth that has five different species, right? From the darkest
Yeah.
corners of the universe. Okay. Aliens in general freak me out and always have since I was a child. So there's there's a lot of room to make this extra like horror on and horror slash sci-fi on different levels. as long as like the design looks good, like nothing can compare to the design of a xenomorph. I mean, come on. But I mean, you have some extra threat, I guess, because you're like, well, what are these other creatures? What are they capable of? But then there's also room for like having like xenomorph and those creatures coming together. Maybe they will breed. Maybe they'll create something different. Maybe there'll be like some action or whatever fights between those creatures. And it's like, how will that feel? It all depends on how it's written and how it's directed and everything like that and how it's done. Like, I don't know. But they said like there's 5 different species from the, I got kind of excited because it actually feels more realistic. Like there wouldn't be just one species of alien in the whole universe. Even when people talk about like aliens that could possibly exist now, like the grays, there's not just the grays, there's like the mantis ones, there's like the different type of grays that are like 7 feet tall. There's apparently in our own universe, when people like the people talk about aliens, there's more than just the one. And it makes sense that there would be more than just the xenomorph. So like it's kind of exciting and it really scares me. So it just depends how they do it. Hopefully it's good and hopefully it's scary.
No, it was interesting when I did see him say that to attack that in two different phases. The first thing is kind of like what he says. I couldn't,
Mm-hmm.
me personally, I couldn't agree with him 100%. Like I I don't feel the xenomorph in its evolution is kind of old to me, and it just, even though it's not the words that he said, it gave me the impression that his mindset is like, we've done everything we can with the xenomorph, so like we got to give you other creatures to supplement. But it was a one of the strengths of Romulus is that it took things that we already had and it gave us different version. That gave me personally the best chestbuster scene that I have seen in an alien movie with
Ever.
that
Yeah.
there.
Agreed.
The cocoon alien transformation. So it's like, yeah, we've known about this creature for so long, and here we go in Romulus, and we were giving a different version of the same thing that gave us something new and great to hold on to. So, don't sleep on the xenomorph in its evolution and what you could do with it just because it's well known. It's like, I hope it doesn't restrict him from getting creative with what you could do with it and just kind of stick with the status quo because his mindset is, we've already seen all that. I'm gonna give you new stuff with the other creatures, but we're gonna give you the same thing with the xenomorph. Like,
Mm.
keep giving us something. Think outside the box on how you can give us the known in a different way, because they're still the lead attraction is the xenomorph. This creature that goes into someone's eyes and takes over their body. Cool. That sounds cool. That's not the main attraction. That's not what I'm here for. I'm
Mm-hmm.
here for the xenomorph. So that's regarding his comments. Regarding the having the other creatures in there, I think it could be good. You have 8 episodes. This isn't a movie. This isn't two
Right.
hours. Let's say each episode is almost an hour. In there, you're looking at probably 7.5 to 8 hours worth of content. So you do need to fill that to keep us engaged. And you also don't want to oversaturate the xenomorph where there's certain things you can only do, certain scares, certain like stalking and stuff you can only do so many times before it loses its appeal or its intensity. So you do need other elements so that you can still space those xenomorph scares enough that they still have the effect, that tingling effect that you're gonna get with them. So it's
Mm-hmm.
fine to have these creatures. And I think the advantage of these creatures is, what is a xenomorph? What do they call it in this world? What is it known for? It's the ultimate, like, the ultimate killer, the ultimate like
Yeah.
hunter and stuff. It's perfection when it comes to that. Having these other creatures that might be deadly and dangerous, but creating that differential where now we're not just calling the xenomorph this great like killing machine or anything like that. We're showing it compared to other deadly creatures that it's superior. That no thing is really gonna fuck with the predator. I mean, with the xenomorph, except for predator.
Yeah.
That's So I think it's a good way to create contrast by having these other creatures and having something to compare the xenomorph to kind of make them feel more deadly and powerful than just telling us and showing them against humans.
Yeah. Going back to what you said about how the showrunner said, like, oh yeah, we've seen it, been there, done that. Like I do talk shit about Romulus, but there are beautiful things about Romulus, and the two exact scenes you mentioned were perfection. And I remember seeing it in the theater and being like, this is absolutely amazing. Maybe he is going to show us something a little bit the same but different, or like finesse something, or give us a different, I don't know, look at some sort of, I don't know, life cycle development of something. Maybe we'll see that. Maybe we'll see the xenomorph more learning things from the other aliens, picking up on their traits so that it becomes the ultimate killer. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's smart. Like, it's not just like a dumb animal. It's like the ultimate killing machine, and it's intelligent. Maybe it learns from these other aliens somehow, and that's why it becomes like the ultimate killing machine. Like, I don't know. We'll have to see. And we'll have to see, like, maybe the humans or whatever are going to use something to do with these other aliens who are on there to fight the xenomorphs. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe they somehow, I don't know what's going to happen, which is fun and exciting. Like, you don't want to know. You want to be surprised. So I know what you're saying, where it's like, you hope he doesn't leave like the xenomorphs kind of in the shadow and just like make the other aliens shine. But I can't see that being a thing, because people will be way too pissed.
Yeah.
Way
Well,
too
yeah,
pissed.
yeah, but it's also not even just leading them in the shadow is
And not in the shadow,
uh
but like,
but when it comes to the xenomorphs, can you give us something we haven't seen yet?
mhm.
Or will you treat the xenomorph and just show us the same things that we've seen already? This is your chance to add your own touch to it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he will.
Well, I mean, it does look like he's going to give us a lot of new stuff. So even though I am a little bit worried about what he's going to do with the xenomorph, he's going to give us new stuff there. He's getting creative with some of the other things and trying to give us something fresh. So we're getting a new location, which we're getting Earth, which we've kind of touched on in glimpses, but now we are there for it. A different type of beside beyond location of like the planet and stuff. It looks like we're in the metropolitan area because in the trailer you see a ship crash into what looks like a big city. I don't know how
Yeah.
populated it is, but that's a different setting in
Mhm.
there. So now you're gonna have to deal with buildings, maybe underground subways, all this stuff. This infrastructure now is given to the xenomorph. So many places to hide for it in these other creatures. And then again, depending on the population of the city, we might get a high count of mortalities there. So we're getting that new. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've gotten this yet. But we're getting like full on exposure with the hybrids. So like we've had androids like throughout, but now we've got the hybrids in there, and I'm sure that's going to be a touchy thing for some of the viewers and stuff because from the trailer, you can tell they're using kids' consciousness to put into these hybrids in there, and then we're also we've it's been wailing this, wailing that. Uh, but we have multiple corporations now. So now we're seeing some of those rivals. And maybe we see by the end of the series, or this season or the series, maybe Wayland comes out on top. Maybe we see how they were able to become the company that kind of leads into the future movies where it's all Wayland
Mhm.
stuff. So I think that's a new element. And then, of course, we already talked about the other aliens that they're going to give us, which are going to be original, fresh aliens in there. But yeah, what are your thoughts on all that new stuff that we're getting?
I like that, and I like that there's going to be different like corporations, and there's also going to be different aliens, and it's like only the strongest will survive with like the aliens and the corporations, and it's like they mimic each other with like how evil everything is.
Mm-hmm.
And like, but what is more actually human and deserves to live? Is it going to be the corporations and humanity, or the aliens who are just like out here just trying to be friggin' aliens, you know? And then, there's going to be some of that existential themes, I think, on identity and humanity and all that stuff. And there always is, I think, in the Alien franchise. But corporate greed, adding the corporate greed to it on a higher level where there's gonna be multiple corporations, it's gonna be cutthroat, I think. And having it, like you say, having it crash land in a big city, it's like the threat is elevated, because if these things get out, like we're doomed, which is, yeah. So it adds that level of the threat level. I'm excited for all of it. I think that the choices that seem to be made so far, I'm on board with, and it opens up for different avenues of exploration between, yeah, aliens and humanity. And because the Alien franchise also, there's a lot of, not a lot of different themes, but there's always that like discussion, what's a better movie, Alien or Aliens? Well, Aliens is more action and it's more like thriller, and Alien is more horror. And then having a series is like you can explore each aspect. Like one episode could be more strictly horror, another episode could be more like thriller action, another one could be like really sci-fi and stuff. So that, I don't know. The more I talk about it and think about it, the more excited I'm getting. But anyway, sorry, I feel like you have some.
Yeah, no, and that is a good point. They can increase the versatility. They're not restrained
Yeah.
by time because you have 7.5, 8 hours to work with. And this is something else you hinted at, which is a good point, is the fact that it's like, so if you ask people what is Alien about, right away they're gonna go to xenomorph and like the hunting of that aspect. But if you look at the, not ignore the prequels, just all the other movies as well. I know that's not very hard for you to ignore the prequels.
To ignore anything, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like, ignore. I don't even know what they are. Um, no, the rest of it is like, if you really like look at some of the underlining theme of it beyond
Mm.
the alien themselves and the danger of the aliens, is humanity's helplessness. And that's kind of the underlying theme of this, because beyond being helpless going up against this dangerous killing machine in there, it's all about humans who are not really having a choice or control over their own life. They're being sent here. They're given these orders. They can't. Ripley tries to fight back, but like she's still ending up back in those situations because all the control is going to the corporation. And they, even in Romulus, you see like that main character, and what sends her to that situation is the fact that she thought she knew the rules of being able to get out, and she did everything that she could to do that. And as soon as she got there, the corporation, what do? They move the goalpost. So you don't have any control of where your life goes, where your decisions are, and what you do in your life. And that's an underlying theme across all those alien movies, is whether you were a soldier, whether you were a crew member, whether you were a worker on the planet, whether you were a prisoner on the
Prisoner.
planet, you really honestly had no choice in the direction of your life. You just had to follow what you were told. And then in those restraints, those life restraints that you were put in by these greedy corporations, then you have to deal with this killing machine on top of that.
Yeah.
So,
And like what's more scary is that the xenomorphs, but like also the humans that are in charge. Like you don't have, like, it doesn't matter. Like you can't even, yeah, like oof.
yeah. And
Aliens deep.
is that more scary? Like, yeah, at face value, short term, it is. But one is quick and swift to an
Yeah.
extent. The other one just drains your life throughout your entire life.
Yes. Oh, just like real life. Just like real life. We need some xenomorphs to come down to Earth and show us, give us some perspective on how terrible Earth and humanity actually is.
Yeah. I think in this format, there's a lot that can be explored. That's the thing with the difference in format, is you get the advantage that you can explore a lot more. You can touch on the multiple genres. You can touch on multiple themes. You can go deeper into the corporations. You can go deeper into the monster horror and all of that stuff. So those are the pros what you can do with that. You can also make these characters be more than cannon fodder for everyone. So you can make us care about these characters because you have more time to do it and develop it. You don't have to do it in the first 20-25 minutes because holy crap, we only have an hour more to go. We need to get into it. So you can actually kind of take your time with it. So those are the pros. But the cons of this format is that now you're also stretching the story a long period of time. So you need to add more elements and add more good elements to keep us engaged and keep us coming back. You can't blow your load in the first two episodes because then you're going to be losing us by the time you go to the finale. But then if you do really good the first five episodes, but then you lose fumes at the end and you can't get it going again, then you're right there. That's considered a failure too. So you have to be good for a longer period of time when it comes to a TV show format. So that's the con in there.
Yeah, they got to keep that stamina up. They got to keep hitting different points every time to keep the excitement going. Yeah,
Exactly. It's
good
not in
analogy.
and out. You need to keep going each episode, each round. You have to keep delivering.
And on that perfect analogy, thank you guys for watching this episode. Let us know down below if you guys are excited for Alien Earth. Are you like, do you wish it never is happening? Like, leave Alien alone, leave the Alien franchise alone. Are you excited? And you're like, well, tell us why you're excited. And you can find more of our content on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on Instagram, and Twitter, at Not a Strong Start. And you can follow me on Instagram at Marie Plays It All. Where can we find you, Jose Ramos?
You can find me on Instagram also at This Is Mi Nombre.
Never stop playing, and I'm trying to think about how to do your analogy of like the don't stop. And
Never stop delivering every step of the way.
yes, that was, and that has so many meanings in life.
Yeah.
That was something special.